This is Peter Obi's manifesto explained in 5 minutes.
OB Keeng to ease no eye, coming out with the music to ease your mind.
Hi guys, it's OB Keeng once again in the house with another video for you guys. So Peter Obi's manifesto was leaked earlier. Peter Obi himself acknowledged the leak, saying it was an early draft of the copy and he would present the formal copy himself. I know many people may not have time to actually go through this document, so I just put it upon myself to break it down, bring out the important points so that at least you have an idea of what it's talking about. The document is about 47 pages long and is very glossy. On page 3, Peter Obi gives the 7 priorities of his government if he is sworn in 2023 as president. These are the 7 things that he is going to focus on. The first of them was ending banditry and insurgency, which is self-explanatory, like insecurity is a very big issue now. 2, moving Nigeria from consumption to production. He always talks about that. That was what he has been basing his early campaigns on. Thirdly, legal and institutional reform, reforming our courts and reforming our institutions. 4, reducing our dependence on crude oil and investing in new technology. 5, improving fiscal infrastructure, like power, transport and all that. 6, engaging the youth and improving their education. And finally, number 7, creating a robust foreign policy. In page 4, Peter Obi makes his pledge to Nigerians. As your president, I, Peter Gregory Onwubuasi Obi. I always thought Peter Obi's middle name was Okute. For some reason. This page forms the backbone of the whole document. Basically, the document is just expanding on a lot of the things that he included in his pledge and how he intends to accomplish them. Page 6 is Peter Obi's prayer for a new Nigeria, where he talks about securing and uniting Nigeria with the help of God. Page 8 was particularly interesting for me because it gives a background of our country, how we've gotten to the situation that we are in, and how dirty politics has been in the past. We've never given people of integrity, like good people, the chance to dig because the political system never allowed for them to emerge as candidates, and he now says, okay, Labour Party is giving that opportunity now. He also laments the way that Nigerians travel to other countries, like developed countries, and run away from Nigeria when we have all the resources that we need here. Only if we had good leaders, we will not have to run away from our country the way we do. And as if to buttress his point, shortly after this manifesto was leaked, President Buhari traveled out of the country to the UK for medical help. So from page 12, he starts to expand on the pledges that he made. The first one he speaks on is securing and uniting Nigeria. A major theme that popped out was collaboration. He showed that he's willing to collaborate with international military. Page 13, he talked about funding the security sector, and this where he talked about NSAS. Basically, he said he was going to set up a proper panel, to investigate what happened during NSAS, and that the protesters that were still in prison, he was going to release all of them, and he was going to properly compensate the families of the victims of the NSAS massacre. So on page 14, he drops 2 bombs on uniting Nigeria, and this is what a lot of people talked about online, mostly the opposition. He said he wants to harmonize the wages of all public servants. If you are a political appointee, you are going to earn the same amount of money as your mates in the proper civil service. And secondly, he said he wants to introduce a hourly payment system for a minimum wage. Workers will be paid overtime, and it will be criminal not to pay workers. This push will ultimately depend on the lawmakers. It's not something that he can just do when he enters as president, and that creates an argument for everybody to vote in lawmakers that have your best interest at heart. On page 15, he talks about improving on the labor bill, that Nigerians will be able to work anywhere in the country, no matter where they are from, as public servants. So it's on page 16 that he explains the consumption to production mantra. He also talks about improving the skills of the youths, and providing certification for blue collar workers, and supporting young entrepreneurs, young Nigerians that have ideas for businesses with funds. On page 17, it talks about making trade easier for Nigerians, reducing the cost of logistics at our ports and our borders. On this page, it also talks about reducing the debt servicing ratio. Basically, out of every 100 kobo that Nigeria makes, 116 kobo is going into servicing debt. Here he also talks about transitioning more to green energy. He's seeing it more as an opportunity to create employment. If we can tap into the 3 trillion naira international fund for climate change, we can create employment while still going green. I think this is a more rational policy that he came up with on climate change as opposed to like that of Tinubu, who said,
we need to open our eyes, shine it, and tell the West, if you don't guarantee our finances and work with us to stop this, we are not going to comply with your climate change. They do it.
So on page 19, he starts to talk about legal and institutional reform. He says he wants to set up 6 Supreme Courts. So like every geopolitical zone in Nigeria will have their own Supreme Courts. In Nigeria, we have a lot of issue in handling cases that an innocent person can be in jail for years from when he's president. Every single court case will not last more than a year. Like that's the benchmark he wants to achieve. Of course, this still depends on the lawmakers. This is also where he talks about making sure that Nigerians in the diaspora vote in subsequent elections. He says in his presidency, local government will be allowed to do their work. Now on page 21, he talks about starting the 4th industrial revolution. What is the 4th industrial revolution? Is where we stop depending on crude oil for revenue. This is also where he talks about increasing the number of gas processing plants in Nigeria. He wants to allow private refineries, I think he called it boutique refinery, a myriad of small refineries to be functional so that we don't have to depend on the imported petroleum products. The core of his government will be made in Nigeria goods. He says he wants to reduce the level of oil spillage in the Niger Delta, and he says he wants to do this by strengthening NEMA. Now it's on page 24 that he starts talking about creating an enabling environment for business to thrive. He wants to generate over 20,000 megawatts of electricity in his first 4 years. Currently, for context, I think we are operating about under 4,000 megawatts as a country. All tertiary institutions in Nigeria will have free internet under his tenure because he wants to engage the private companies and support them to provide internet and even provide free internet for the state capitals. On page 26, that's when he talks about human capital development. He wants to change the education system to more match the modern technologies that we have now. He also talks about retraining the teachers that we have in system and making it attractive for experts to come and teach. I thought that was a very important part. But most importantly on this chapter, he says he wants to increase the budgetary allocation of education to 16%. He also says he wants to provide health insurance for 100 million of the poorest Nigerians through the NHIS. He says he wants to make the sports sector attractive by inviting the private sector to invest. Now on page 29, he says he wants to stop public servants from sending their children to schools abroad while they are still in office. It's going to be quite tough. On this same page, he also talks about supporting the entertainment industry, the creatives, that he has plans for them too. Now it's on page 30 that he starts to talk about our foreign policy. The foreign policy is going to focus on West Africa and basically for trade. So page 32 basically marks the end of him expanding on his pledge. Then from page 33 is the biographies of Peter Obi and Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed, his running mates. And man, Peter Obi's biography is stacked. I mean, just take a look at this guy's achievements. Educational institutions attended, like the whole thing is stacked. Previous positions held, the whole thing is stacked. He now lists the professional organizations he's part of. He lists the committees he has been in government. And it's also important to note that in the award section, he won Governor of the Year and Governor of the Decade, and he just won multiple awards for being governor. The next 4 pages of this document were just his achievements that he made as being governor of Anambra State. I'm just going to read out some examples of the achievements that stood out most to me in this document. Number 5, it says the Nigerian Debt Management Office rated Anambra as the least indebted state in Nigeria in spite of visible and measurable achievements recorded in various sectors. The state under him did not borrow or raise bonds for her various projects. In number 10, it says his government won the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation $1 million grant as the best performing state in immunization in the Southeast. With complementary funding from the state government, they used the money to build 10 maternal and child care centers across the state, particularly in rural communities in partnership with the churches. In number 13, it says the state provided internet access to more than 500 secondary schools. In number 21, it says his administration conceived and built from scratch the first state-owned teaching hospital. In number 26, it says during his tenure and with his government support, Anambra State became an oil-producing state. So following this, from page 44 is the biography of his running mate Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed, and is stacked as well. And that is where we close out the document, with an illustration that they can do it. Me reading this from beginning to end, it was very refreshing for me because it just provided something different. A lot of the manifestos I've read in the past, they have not been as detailed as this or felt as personal as this. Like, this felt really personal. So I'm still even waiting for his official draft to see if any changes will be made, any improvements will be made to this document. So that's it, guys. Peter Obi's manifesto explained in 5 minutes. Do you have any reservations? Do you have anything interesting you want us to know? Let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching. Do like and subscribe. Once again, my name is OB Keeng, and I'll see you guys in the next one.